be so horrible towards the male gender right now.
Okay, so everyone watching over there, we were expecting more people to join in, but it's just the three of us, not an issue. We can yet learn something. So here we are talking about whether or not woke culture has gone too far. And Aditya has had started a conversation wherein he went into the genetics of how gender identity is has evolved. So yeah, Adi, like if you could restart.
Yeah, so basically, I had a perception, right? So again, it was not scientifically informed, nothing like that. It was just something that I thought based on the limited understanding that we have of the X and Y chromosomes, right? So basically, what I thought was the X chromosome is nothing but the Y chromosome with an extra leg. So females just get an extra set of genes from the Y chromosome and they became female, right? So that was my highly limited understanding. I wanted to find out because the reasoning behind this was we say that these gender identities are not binary, but they're a spectrum, right? So and a spectrum would basically make sense. That would make sense if the Y chromosome, or sorry, the X chromosome was basically a Y chromosome with an extra leg, and the length of that, the variation in the length of that leg would pertain to the spectrum of gender identities probably. That was my very nonsensical kind of an understanding. But then when I when I actually looked into it, it was so interesting. So these are basically called the sex chromosomes, right? So the X and the Y chromosome. And when humans evolved, so both of these were separate chromosomes and they used to be about similar in size, right? So both of them used to be very large chromosomes. But then the Y chromosome, now depending on the perspective of people, some might say it deteriorated and some might say it evolved over time. So the reason being that the Y chromosome became smaller and smaller and smaller. It became very small. So that's why, in fact, if you have looked at biology diagrams and all, you see that the sperm that impregnates an egg, it's basically very tiny. It's very, very tiny, right? So the Y chromosome is very small. And the reason is that it only has about 70 odd genes. So the genetic material that it contains, it's only about 70 genes. And the X chromosome contains a few thousands apparently, right? So now people who say that the Y chromosome deteriorated basically say that it was not required and everything, and that's why it kept becoming small. People who say that it evolved say that it became more efficient and it lost all the genes that were not required. So it kept only the 70 or 70 odd genes that it required. So that's where it became pretty interesting because both of these have no say whatsoever in the sexual orientation of the person. They only the only role that they have is in the growth of the sexual organs. That's it. So whether you have a male organ or a female organ, in fact, that is where if I don't remember, I don't know if you remember, but in school you might have read something, a term called parthenogenesis. So turkeys can reproduce through parthenogenesis. So basically, they don't need a male. Females can reproduce without a male. Of course, every offspring is going to be a female, right? So the deterioration theory of the Y chromosome gives credibility that tomorrow human women don't need men at all. So they can just reproduce, they can keep continuing females, and males are actually useless in that sense, right? So so this is where only your gender thing comes into play. So or the sexual organs, the biology comes into play. Where your other parts of sexual identity comes into play was a whole lot of interaction of the other genes and mostly the environmental factors according to research. That was very interesting. So you're more likely to be homosexual or gay if you have had an older brother. Right? I would have thought the opposite. You have an older brother, you grow up wrestling and bloody beating the crap out of each other. Yeah, how does that translate to this? So the number of older brothers you have, your likelihood of becoming gay increases by an exponential rate. So it was so interesting, the amount of research that has gone into this and how it completely flipped my thoughts. It was, it was so,
So
so,
all
so
of this
interesting.
research is something that you did only for this talk, or like it was just general observations that you were having?
No, Previously, also, in fact, you remember Amrita Varshni in MCC? She was our history classmate, Bharatnatyam
Mm-hmm.
dancer. So, actually, the gold medalist of our batch for history. So, I had once talked about these things with her. I had started a GD group in MCC in my third year for
Mm-hmm.
for the civil services people. So that time we had such a topic, and that time, so the nonsensical interpretation I had of X and Y, that was the time I made this kind of a reasoning and argument, and that is when I started looking into these kinds of things. And you kind of lit the match again, lit the fire again with with this topic. Has woke culture gone too far? Very interesting.
The theory that you said, like having older brothers leads to the chances of younger brothers being a gay. So, is there something similar, or like a similar logic applies to a girl being a lesbian? So,
Girls as well.
is there
Yeah. So
anything like that?
everything. Yeah, but again, the key factor here is it is not an elder sister. The entire homosexual range, it depends if you have an older brother, period. Older
Okay.
sister, nothing. If you have an older brother, your chances increase. I do not know how that works. It was basically a statistical analysis. It just works. But even then, the chances are like 20%. So if you have one older brother, it goes to about 4 to 5%. And if you have four or five older brothers, it goes only till 20%. So 80% of your orientation is still based on other genetics and other environmental factors.
Something
Uh,
that I have researched about, like when I heard something similar was it was a TED talk wherein I heard that when you have older brothers, as in like a lot of older brothers, then what happens is like
Mhm.
the pressure on the mothers that basically increases. Also, if the mother is like uh, has gone through some trauma or some kind of tension or pressure when she was pregnant, even that has an impact on the kid that she is gestating. So what happens is like it the genetics itself feels the need for a kid who is more understanding, because a gay child would have the body of a male because that's determined by the genetics, but would think like a woman, as in not completely, but would have more element of empathy and would not be that uh, like of a rowdy, or would be of an extra support to the mother. So this is the research, not research, but one of the TED talk that I watched. So I guess this has some correlation with what you said. And
Interesting.
even the change of genders, no? Like I think that's something which
Mhm.
also happens in a lot of animal kingdom rather than Turkey as well. I guess seahorse
Yes,
or clownfish, one of them does this.
a,
They
a
also change the
clownfish.
gender. Clownfish.
No, seahorse doesn't change the gender. Seahorse has a very interesting gestation thing. So basically, the
Yeah,
male
the
gives
males
birth
take
to the
care,
child.
huh? The males
Yeah,
take care.
yeah, yeah. So they have a pouch where the female comes and lays the eggs, and then they hatch out of its body. Very
So,
interesting. Uh,
so do you feel like any of you could say that? Like, do you think the way the humans have evolved, that has something to do with the duties or the roles that has been assigned to the specific genders? Like the mothers are supposed to be at home and they should take care of the kids, etc. So do you think like the evolution has mandated humans to be that way? Mahalakshmi?
Hmm. I okay, I don't know about the evolutionary or biological side of things because my interest lays more in looking at the sociological perspective, and in that sense, I would not say so. There are no evolutionary um, backings to that because like yeah, human beings were born, but we made family, we made reproducing because reproduction every animal does, but what makes family, what makes society is very like key to human beings alone. So if you look at it that way, we made the rules uh, and we changed the rules. Maybe at some point of time it was the opposite. Women were more. outside or whatever. I don't know. I don't have the evidence for that, but it could be because it's man-made.
Adi,
And
time for
in
some
fact, my next topic,
controversy.
right?
Yeah.
No, actually, the reason I was smiling so much was because, this, when I was thinking about this, I wanted to even propose the topic for the next talk, right? So, evolution, how conscious is evolution? I mean, is evolution a part of conscious effort on our side? So, let's say I am facing some difficulty and I feel like, okay, maybe if I had this feature, so does the body understand that and the genetical override happen and that cause evolution, or is it simply because of chance, right? So evolution, is it unconscious? So, and I will back it up with some different theories later on. So now coming back to your evolution point, I don't think that would be a right thing to say because evolution takes place over a very, very long time, right?
Yeah.
So, and when you say females became, this that females tended to be mothers and all that, that has happened only in the very recent times, I would say, maybe a few thousand years. In fact, even in the agricultural revolution before that, that's basically 12,000 years ago. Even before that, women were hunting. Even today, if you see the tribals take part in hunting, fruit picking, farming, everything. They're not just, right. It is their biology, yes, because females are the only ones who are capable of giving birth and producing milk. So, and they are very, factually speaking, they're physically weaker. Men are physically much more aggressive and stronger, right? So that definitely it does play a role. For example, even you call the lion the king of the jungle. You don't call the lioness the queen of the jungle. Right. So now that is a very stereotypical comment. Yes, because the lion again does the lioness does the maximum hunting. The lion is a lazy bloody creature who keeps sleeping all day. Right. So uh, I think everything has its own role. Yes, it does. The the only reason humans have come this far, we are able to speak about feminism, equality, and all of this, is simply because our technology, our technical capabilities have bridged that gap, right?
I get it now.
So today, a female can do the same things that a male can, right? Because she has been taught in those ways, she has been trained in those ways. But again, this was actually a very, very interesting point that I once thought about. So there is a ongoing joke, right, that women can't drive.
Yes.
So women are very bad drivers. So it's a meme material. But if you actually think about it, why is that the case? You see, boys from the childhood they're taught to ride a cycle, maybe skateboard, a skate, roller skates, inline skates. Throughout their life, they're on some kind of a vehicle. Scooty be, they get at the age of 16, 15 and all that. Girls, most of them, they are not given this much level of an exposure, right? Some of them don't even ride a cycle. I know people who are maybe 32 years old and now they are going to get their car license. So when you have 30 years of experience backing a guy who is driving a car versus 3 months of experience on a girl who is just learning how to drive, you definitely can't expect her to be at the same skill set as a male. So
I
I
really
think
feel like
that is why we think this kind of things.
this the comparison like me females are not good drivers. This is so much stereotype that I'm pretty sure like there would be some research that would have existed. Uh, Not just for like women who took up driving very late in their careers, but also who had the privilege of learning it very early. So I would love to go back and do some more research on this.
Yeah.
Uh, let's come back to where we discussed, and like I would like to have this one last question for both of you. Uh, like a lot of times, especially in your friend circles, like have you ever faced an experience where um, a sexist jokes or a racist joke was just said and you were expected to normalize it as in like someone who is a dark skinned, like someone who is short and like you just someone just spoke about it loudly and the
Mhm.
group normalized and you were under peer pressure to maybe like think that it is cool to hear that joke. So any experience like that you have ever had?
Mhm. I let Maha
Again,
go first on this one.
No, I want to hear you go first because you laughed.
No, I laugh because there are so many instances of these, right? But it's
Maybe
it's
you
so
could talk
normal.
about
But
an
I
instance
think
where you actually took a stand or something like that. Or if you have something cooler, as
no,
in like which can really add value to this conversation. And we have like 6 minutes, okay?
okay. Yeah, sure. So I'll just go very quickly. Firstly, I don't take, I'd never bow down to peer pressure. I'm like, go get lost. Right. I really, I've seen so many of these jokes, and that is one of the biggest reasons I don't have a lot of friends. Right. Because I don't take part in these jokes at all. I just shut it down wherever. But it was very interesting that I was in the office. So this happened in my office. So these guys, there was a guy who had a very stereotypical, the typical male, viewpoint on girls, that girls don't have any problems. You don't know what problems guys face and all that. And it became, I mean, he's a very nice guy otherwise. He will never bother girls, right? But the way he speaks, right? It is like a girl should not work and this and that. And so inevitably, that conversation turned to how girls face periods every month. And his defense of that is, have you ever been kicked in the balls? Right. So basically, he's trying to say that the pain that girls feel, guys also feel. And I'm not arguing with that. But I'm saying, do you get kicked in the balls on a monthly basis? Do you do that? Right. So it's I understand your need for justification of all this, but it when you come to me with an illogical point, you get kicked in the balls every day of the week for 1 month. Every month for 1 week you do that, and consistently, I will accept your argument that you face the same pain that girls do. I'm not saying that girls face or more pain or guys face. Everyone has their own pains, right? You can't. So, Mama, you can't just make a joke on that and say ki we are greater. We are the greater gender.
I completely get it. Like,
I would actually
uh,
bring my X and Y conversation after you. You know?
actually, like the statement or like the experience that you shared now, this interaction, it can actually be a good topic altogether where uh, certain opinions are, like they are contradicted with uh, another opinion which is not very regular. So it mostly happens on the nationalistic side, like when we talk about nationalism and all. I'll think more deeply about it and that let's like to curate some topic around this. Mahalakshmi?
Oh.
Yeah, I was just laughing the whole time you said that example because someone has said the same thing in MCC. This was a classmate of mine in MCC, and he said, if you are experiencing this pain every month, then why don't you just get used to it? And I was so shocked, I didn't even respond. Like, what kind of a logic is that? But anyway, yeah, it happens so often, and like people making those comments around us, and I I feel like I stand up to it always, but the worst part is you just get labeled for that. Like, oh, I cannot say anything around her because she's going to, call you out on that, or she's going to have a problem with it. Whereas I think me having a problem with it is very valid because you are saying something that's not okay, you're making a very snide comment, you're putting someone else down. So that labeling part of it is what I hate the most. And because I am in now again, a student, it happens a lot more often that yeah.
No. Like,
It's when these jokes are made, right? I found out so
uh,
many new terms. For example, in North, na, you call gay people mitha.
okay.
If somebody
Yeah.
behaves in a little slightly effeminate way, if a guy is a little effeminate, you call him mitha. At first I didn't understand what the hell was going on. Ye mitha kyun bula rahe yaar? And then I found out that because he is behaving a little, what the hell is this?
There are terms
So many
like,
terms.
are you aware like who are termed as khatta?
No, I
No.
should have asked that.
Us, the Tamilians.
Oh, oh really?
Yes,
Why?
yes.
Because
because we eat a lot of khatta, the sambar, the rasam, the use of
Oh,
tamarind.
Oh,
So, so I'm glad that
Maha
you
was
all
thinking
discovered
something else probably.
this.
She
So
was
this
ready
was
to go to
something
war.
this was a new information for all of you. Okay, I
Yeah.
think we just have 1 minute left. So I really did not expect that the three of us would be able to have such a good interaction, but we rather spoke for 20 minutes and all of it was something new to us, and also I'm pretty sure like three of us learned from each other. So thank you so much for joining. I'll stop recording now.